There are some unique events in the world that are considered among the strangest incidents in history. Knowing about them will leave you absolutely shocked. Larry Walters was a truck driver living in North California. His dream was to become a pilot, but when he tried to join the Air Force, he was rejected due to his poor eyesight. However, one day he thought that if he couldn't fly an airplane, he would build a flying machine himself. He took a plastic garden chair and tied 45 weather balloons filled with helium to it. He also took a BB gun, some snacks, a radio, and a parachute with him. The plan was to rise slowly into the air, enjoy the view at the top, and then pop the balloons with the BB gun to come back down. But as soon as the balloons were released, Larry shot up at a high speed to an altitude of 15,000 feet, about 4.5 kilometers. He ended up right in the air traffic control zone over Los Angeles, where commercial planes fly. A pilot informed air traffic control that he had spotted a man flying in a chair at 16,000 feet. Larry stayed up there for about 45 minutes. When he popped a few balloons with his BB gun, the chair slowly drifted down. After landing, he was arrested by the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, for violating airspace rules. Although he was released in a few days, this incident turned him into a hero. People started calling him Lawn Chair Larry. He did several TV interviews and became an inspiration for adventure seekers. In 1848, a British Navy ship named HMS Daedalus was sailing in the South Atlantic Ocean when its crew spotted a creature that had never been recorded in history before. The ship's captain, Peter Mahay, wrote in his logbook that he and his officers saw an enormous creature resembling a black snake moving straight through the water. The creature remained visible right next to the ship for about 20 minutes. The captain also noted that the creature was over 60 feet long and had no visible fins or flippers, meaning it didn't look like any known fish. The most shocking part was that this wasn't seen by just one or two people, but by the entire crew of officers and several sailors. They clearly stated that it was neither a whale nor a dolphin, and its movement was completely unique. When this report reached Britain, it caused quite a stir in the scientific world. Some believed that such undiscovered creatures might exist in the deep sea. However, many scientists doubted the report, claiming that the crew might have mistaken a whale. The strangest thing, though, was that this report came from a highly trained Navy captain and officers, people who had spent years at sea and had seen all kinds of marine life, yet insisted this was something entirely different. To this day, that sighting remains a mystery. During the 1930s, an incident came to light in America that was beyond anyone's imagination. This entire story revolves around Carl Tanzler and a young girl named Elena de Hoyos. Carl Tanzler was a German-born radiologist working at a hospital in Florida. That is where he met Elena de Hoyos, a young Cuban girl who was a tuberculosis patient. Elena was incredibly beautiful, and Carl fell in love with her at first sight. Carl believed that Elena was the exact girl he had been seeing in his dreams since childhood. He tried his best to treat her, but in 1931, Elena passed away. Everything was normal up to this point, but what happened next shocked everyone. Carl built a mausoleum for Elena and visited her regularly. A few months later, he secretly removed Elena's dead body from the grave and brought it to his home. Carl then lived with Elena's corpse for the next 7 years. He began preserving her body using wire, plaster, wax, and glass eyes. Her skin was decaying, but Carl would cover it with clothes and wigs. Soon, Elena's family grew suspicious of Carl. They informed the police, and when officers raided Carl's house, they found Elena's preserved body in a state that a normal person could not even imagine. Carl was arrested, but no serious charges could be sustained against him. The case left the public in absolute shock. Even today, Carl Tanzler's case is considered one of the most terrifying and bizarre love stories in the world. In 1989, a small cargo flight was flying near Hawaii. There were only 2 people on board, a pilot and a co-pilot. The plane was a Beechcraft 18, meant strictly for carrying cargo. While flying near Hawaii's Molokai Island, the plane's front cargo door suddenly flew open in midair. The moment the door opened, a massive blast of air rushed into the aircraft, so violent that both the pilot and the co-pilot were literally sucked right out of the cockpit. Both fell straight into the ocean below. The most unbelievable part was that with no one left inside to fly it, the plane continued to fly on its own for some time. Eventually, it made an incredibly smooth landing in an open field. There was barely any damage and no explosion. The plane was almost completely intact. Later investigations revealed that when the door opened, the sudden pressure change literally pulled both men out of their seats and into the air. Meanwhile, the plane's aerodynamic condition was such that it stabilized itself and gradually glided down to safety. This remains one of the most bizarre accidents in aviation history, where a plane landed safely without a pilot. Unfortunately, the pilot and co-pilot did not survive the fall from such a massive height. On October 30, 1938, a popular radio program broadcasted a fictional alien invasion story so realistically that thousands of people mistook it for actual news. In a shocking turn of events, many listeners panicked and fled their homes. A young director named Orson Welles had adapted H.G. Wells' famous novel, The War of the Worlds, for CBS Radio. However, he decided to present it in a breaking news bulletin style, making it sound like a real-time event happening at that very moment. The broadcast claimed that an alien spaceship had landed in New Jersey and launched an attack. Many people tuned in halfway through the show and genuinely believed it was a real news broadcast, triggering widespread panic. People rushed out of their homes, others gathered in churches to pray, and emergency services were flooded with phone calls. Although newspapers clarified the incident the next day, this event stands as an early historic example of the fake news effect, where people believed something completely without verification. In 1951, an American woman named Henrietta Lacks was suffering from cervical cancer. When she went to the hospital for treatment, doctors took a small sample of her cancerous cells. However, when scientists began researching these cells, they discovered something truly extraordinary. While normal human cells die after a short period, Henrietta's cancer cells never died. They just kept dividing and multiplying continuously. These became the first human cells in history to become immortal in a laboratory setting. Later, these cells were named HeLa cells. Scientists used HeLa cells to achieve major medical breakthroughs, and they are still used in laboratories worldwide today. However, there is a disturbing side to this story. Henrietta and her family had no idea that her cells were being taken and used globally. They received no financial compensation or credit for it. Years later, when the family finally found out, it raised serious ethical questions about whether it is right to take a part of someone's body without consent and commercialize it across the world. Every year on Jindo Island in South Korea, a phenomenon occurs that people initially mistake for a miracle. The seawater between two islands suddenly recedes, revealing a narrow road, as if the ocean has split into two halves. For a few days each year, a path about 2.8 kilometers long and 40 meters wide appears between Jindo Island and Modo Island, allowing people to literally walk from one island to the other. Thousands of people gather in South Korea every year just to witness this event. The government has turned this natural occurrence into a celebration called the Jindo Sea Parting Festival. While science explains that this happens due to tidal factors and gravitational pulls, local residents still view this event as a divine, miraculous moment. Friends, which of these events did you find the most shocking? Let me know in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like and share the video. See you in the next one. Thank you.